Question number 35 of the PhilNITS FE morning portion of the exam. In this question, we are being asked, which of the following represents the appropriate combination of a class and an object in object-oriented programming? This question, I think, is solvable in the sense that it's not super easy where at times you just look at the question and quickly find the answer. In this case, I think you need to really read the answers, the choices, and then from there figure out if there are any patterns that you can observe and be able to eventually arrive with the correct answer. For example, A and B have the same answer for class, the class column. Now, I put another line here where we got the class word because I think that in object-oriented programming, this terminology, this word is something that would often come up, and if we don't know what it is, then I think we need to explain what it is. And actually, the answer for A and the answer for B are explaining what class is really supposed to be. It says that a class can be defined as a group of objects with similar behavior and attributes. Therefore, if we have maybe a monster class, a monster in one of those role-playing games, Dragon Quest or Final Fantasy, or any game maybe that you are familiar with where you got monsters, then there would be a set of behavior and attributes that all these monsters would have. For example, they would have a life bar or a number of times they can be hit, and maybe they have an attack behavior. So all these things, we put them together in one group, and in this case the word is one class, so that it becomes easier to know whether we are talking about this group. And when we're talking about this group, all the objects, all the monsters, for example, are in one group, and it makes it a lot easier to identify who they are and also to know their behavior and attributes based on their class. Now, if A and B are both saying the same thing, then how do we know that A is the correct answer and not B? Okay, I chose A, which is the correct answer. And what we can see is that for A, it's saying that an object is an instance of a class, while B is saying that an object is the blueprint of the class. Okay, I think when we say blueprint, I have the impression that it's this part here already, right? And in object-oriented programming, if we want to instantiate, the word here is instantiate a class, which means that from a set of behaviors and attributes, we want to make use of an instance of this class. Maybe we only want one monster. Then that class becomes an object that we can make use of. Now, if we want to create more monsters, then we'll have several objects because each monster would need to be identified with an object ID, because if everyone is from the same group, how do we identify which? For example, one is moving in one direction, the other one is going the other way. They're both monsters, but we need a way to know that the other one has maybe hit a wall and the other monster is going to the door. So we need a way to know which one we are referring to. And in object-oriented programming, we need to create an object that is an instance of a class. Alright? Now, actually, I think that we can find these words, instance and object, again in the other choices. And what we can find is that for C, it's saying that a class is an instance of objects. And in fact, I think that the class is the template that describes the behavior. And in the same way that a blueprint is supposed to be the template that describes the behavior that the class of its type supports. And an object is the instance of the class. So there's a difference between class and instance that if you may have not used any object-oriented programming language at all, like Java, then this might not be too clear for you. For D, what we have is that a class stores the actual values of its attributes, and an object has the definition and behavior of a class. I think the part where you store the actual values, because for example, the one we gave where you got a monster, maybe if not a Final Fantasy monster or Dragon Quest monster, a Pokemon monster, a pocket monster, I think that should be the better word for that. The Pokemon would have its location, correct? Now that's the actual value. It's X and Y coordinate positions. Maybe if it's in 3D, you add the Z axis position, coordinate position as well. And the instance, the object, would have those actual values and not its class, because we can create another monster and that is moving in another direction. Therefore, the actual values would not be stored in the class, but it would be the instance that would have these actual values. Alright, so the correct answer for this question is letter A.